Hey y'all. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Terralyn and I am a nurse injector in Pismo Beach, California. I've been injecting for almost 8 years now, which is insane to think about that it's been that long. I have a wealth of knowledge that I want to share with y'all. And I think I've started a podcast probably like 4 times, and I'll upload 1 or 2 episodes, and then I just get way too embarrassed to put it out there on social media. So I just kind of let them float there in the universe, and then eventually they just kind of die off and go away. And so I promised myself I'm just going to get on here. I think I always try to make it so, like, if you know me, I'm very particular, I'm a perfectionist and I like things to be perfect. And I think that's partly why I'm so good at my job. And if you're a patient of mine, you know that I am a perfectionist and you'll often get a couple extra pokes just because I want it to be perfect for you, which, I think everybody appreciates. So I always record these and they're not perfect, or I spend so much time editing them and cutting things out. And so I told myself that I'm just going to make this like super easy breezy. I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to put it out there. And if I ramble or mess up, y'all are just going to have to hang out with me while I do it, because I think that's also vulnerability in a way. And I think it's something that people appreciate. And on my Instagram, I do try to keep things like pretty real. So hopefully this is going to be beneficial. My goal for this is that my patients and all of my followers, or everybody out there on the Instagram, TikTok, YouTube world, can just get a little bit more knowledge. And the fact that it's coming from an actual nurse injector, hopefully you can get something from it. I do a lot of consults, or like with my patients, I'll suggest something. Like, for instance, I'll suggest switching up from Botox or Dysport to Daxify, or I'll suggest Sculptra or Radiesse or chin filler. And sometimes we don't always have enough time, especially if it's something that's brought up like at the end of the appointment. There's not always often time for me to explain things all the way, or although I shouldn't say that because I'm really, really thorough. But there's often things that I suggest, and instead of saying like, why don't you just like go on Instagram and like research it, or instead of me saying like, here's a brochure, why don't you read about it? I wanted to have like content for y'all that I can reference you to, like, hey, I did a podcast specifically on Sculptra, why don't you go listen to it? And hopefully it'll be like a little mini consult directly from me that you can watch or listen to on your own time. So that's kind of my goal for this. I absolutely love what I do. I have a passion for it. I started my training at the National Laser Institute. I went to the program in Scottsdale, and that's where I got certified to do toxins, fillers, and lasers. And then while I was in Dallas, I was asked to become a trainer for National Laser Institute just at the Dallas location. And it was like a full circle moment because that's the same company that I trained with. So it was a lot of fun getting to train other nurses, physicians, nurse practitioners. Everybody, you had to be at least at the RN level to go to this program. And it was so much fun just being able to share what I do and being able to just kind of like pass on my passion. So that was a lot of fun. And it just kind of, I've always loved teaching. And so this is kind of me being able to take a little bit more time to teach just the general population and, teach vocally instead of actually showing. So I hope this is beneficial. If there's anything that you ever want me to talk about or to cover, please let me know. Sometimes I feel like I'm, what am I trying to say? Like a broken record in a way. I feel like I talk about the same things. And so if there's something you're wondering about, let me know. So I just kind of want to do introductory things so you can learn about me, learn who I am, and kind of learn why I'm doing this. But I also, I don't know, let's talk about something too. I think like the basics are If you're a patient of mine, most of my patients do some sort of toxin, whether that's Botox, Dysport, Xeomin, or Daxxify. There is a fifth neurotoxin out there called Jeuveau. I personally don't love it, and we don't carry it at Astera just because, I don't know, I think Jeuveau and Xeomin are the two toxins. They have their place in the aesthetic world, but I just don't feel like they last as long. That's just me. Some providers absolutely love them and use them all day long. That's all they carry. Everybody's a little bit different. So I always like to try to get my patients to get the best results and the longest duration that they can, because that means that they're having to come in less to do it and they can spend longer feeling good about themselves, right? So Botox was the first neurotoxin, obviously, that was ever created. It's kind of the OG princess of the toxins. And it's a great product. Everybody's been using it for a long time, but that's kind of the problem, is that there is an ability for your body to build up a resistance to toxins. And so if you just do Botox forever, eventually you're going to start to see that it's going to work great in the beginning, and then you're not going to get as long of a duration. So a lot of my patients, they start with Botox because they feel comfortable. It's like the umbrella name for all the toxins, and they've heard about that. So they start with Botox. It's a great place to start. I just recommend at some point switching and trying Dysport or Daxxify or even Xeomin if you want to. That's something that we call rotational therapy. The benefit of that is that we don't get used to a specific toxin. So for those people who have been doing, Botox for years, they're going to start to see that in the beginning, their results were lasting, 4 months. And then it's going to kind of start to be 3 months. And then eventually they're coming in, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like this used to work so well. And now I'm maybe getting 2 months, 2.5 months out of my treatment. And so that's usually when I start the conversation of doing rotational therapy and introducing another toxin into your regimen. All of my new patients, I tell you about all the different toxins, and then I let you choose if you want to do, Botox or Dysport first. I think those are two great places to start. And then, doing that maybe like 2, 3 times and then kind of switching it up and doing the other. So that is something I don't know. I think more providers are starting to do that, especially since we're starting so early with toxins. We've got girls coming in for baby Botox, in their early 20s. And I think that they're, every woman's different, right? And so I'll do a different episode on baby Botox and what it is and when is a good time to start. But I see now I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? I don't remember. This is part of it, right? Okay, this is the part I told myself I'm not gonna edit it out. Okay, I totally lost my train of thought, and so I did edit something out really quickly, but that's just to keep this rolling. What I was saying is it is so important to do rotational therapy for women who are starting early on in their early 20s, because you don't want your body to get used to it when you're 50 or 60. And obviously, I've been in this industry now for like 7, 8 years, and we've gotten 2 new neurotoxins in that time. So I do know that we're going to get more when all of us who are in our 30s or 40s, by the time we're 50, 60, there's probably going to be so many options just like there is with filler. I can totally see that happening. I just, that's kind of my little soapbox and my little rant about doing rotational therapy. But I don't think it matters with what product you start with at all. I think that they are both amazing. They're all amazing products, and I would never inject something into you that I don't trust and love myself, or and I wouldn't put into my own body. So let me just kind of go through. I'll talk about the different toxins, and this can just kind of be a toxin tips episode, I guess. See, we're just winging it. So, obviously, Botox, the OG Princess, that is made by a company called Allergan, and they make the Juvederm family of fillers. Then we have Dysport. Dysport is the same thing as Botox. It is just made by a different manufacturing company. It's still going to work the same way. Dysport's claim to fame, and one of the reasons why a lot of my patients started off with Botox, and then when they tried Dysport, they're kind of on this Dysport train now. That is because Dysport kicks in a little bit quicker than Botox does, and it does last a little bit longer. And everybody loves that because we want our results fast, right? Like we want everything fast. You want that instant gratification. So for those of you who don't know, typically Botox takes about 3 to 4 days to kind of start to see the results. I always say like go home and frown, raise your eyebrows, smile depending on where you get treated, and just kind of watch it slowly kick in. And after it starts to kick in around day 3, 4 for Botox, then it's going to gradually set in and it's going to be at the full result mark at 2 weeks. That's going to be the same with Dysport. It's still going to take a full 2 weeks for it to fully kick in, but usually Dysport kicks in around day kind of closer to 2. Everybody's a little bit different. This is a range. Granted, you're probably only going to see it start to work maybe a day or 2 earlier, but I do feel like it kind of locks in a lot quicker than Botox does. So for patients who, ask me which one is better, they're both great. They're both amazing. And that's why I say like switch it up. Don't give your body the same thing because it's going to get used to it. And then Dysport, that one is made by Galderma, who makes the Restylane fillers, as well as Sculptra, which y'all know I love my Sculptra so much. It's amazing. And the fun fact, it's kind of funny because a lot of people trust Botox so much. And I know Dysport's kind of starting to make its claim to fame. I have more and more people asking to start with that who are new patients because they've heard about it on Instagram or TikTok. Restylane is a brand of fillers that the company who makes Dysport makes. And Restylane was actually the first filler out there. And that brand has been around for a really long time. So I think that kind of makes people feel better in a way to know that it's not just like this new random company that like came and made a tox. Like they're tried and true trusted. Y'all know I love my Restylane products for filler, which again, we can talk through all of that on another podcast. I'm getting lots of ideas. It's going to be fun. So that's Dysport and that's Botox. They're both going to last. We always say it's going to last about 3 to 4 months, but I think people get closer to that 4 month mark when they do Dysport. And so that's why people love it. Xeomin is another neurotoxin that we have at Astera and that I don't use very often, but I do feel like it has its place. It is a neurotoxin that was made to not, it doesn't have any accessory proteins. And what that means is your body cannot build a resistance to it. So that's amazing because you can do Xeomin every single time and your body's not going to get used to it. The thing with me is I just don't feel like it lasts as long. And again, like I said, I feel like my patients always want that instant, or they want that instant result, but they want the the duration is what I'm trying to say. So I don't use Xeomin a whole bunch. I think it's a great product. Their kind of claim to fame is like for all those girls who do want the baby Botox. Xeomin is a great place to start them because they're not going to kind of build up that resistance in their 20s and 30s. So maybe when they get to like 35 or maybe even 30, say they started at like 22 or 24, they can do Xeomin until they get to about early 30s and then switch to Botox or Dysport if they want. So that's always an option. And I did really like that about Xeomin, but then Daxxify came out, and Daxxify's been out about 2 to 3 years, I think. And I probably should know what year it came out specifically, but I don't. I think it was about between 1 and 2 years. And I freaking love Daxxify. There's like so many reasons why. So I'm going to share them with you. So the first thing is it's 100% vegan. So it doesn't have the human albumin serum that the other toxins do. It's made in the USA. It's the only toxin that is made in the USA. And it's actually manufactured in California. So win-win for California. And then it doesn't have any of the accessory proteins either. So you can't get resistant to this toxin. So that's another thing that I love about it. It also has a peptide delivery system, which means that the muscles are able to uptake more of that neurotoxin. And because of that peptide delivery system, Daxify kicks in within like 1 day. Like, not even kidding. It like you wake up the next morning and you see your results. It's amazing. It also lasts a lot longer. So they say for the glabella region, which is the region right between your brows when you frown, we call that the glabella area. And that is FDA approved. They said in their studies when they tested it that it lasts 6 to 9 months in that area. Granted, that area always lasts the longest for most people anyways, but I tried Daxify earlier, or I guess now it's last year because it's 2025 now, and it lasted me 6 months. It was amazing. I've been trying to incorporate Daxify more into my patients, and the ones who have done it have absolutely loved it. So there's lots of benefits to Daxify, and just trying to introduce that to my patients more often. So that's kind of another thing why I wanted to do this is I just want to create more awareness. And so you can listen to these or watch these, and then you can come in with more questions and kind of start that conversation. So anyways, those are the 4 neurotoxins that I work with most. Love them. And hopefully that cleared up some questions for y'all. If you've never done it before, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to do it. Everybody is always so nervous. And if you go to a good injector, you ask the right questions, make sure you do a really thorough consultation with your injector. I do a very thorough one. If I have a patient who's never done it before, I sit there for a good 10 minutes and we discuss your options. I tell you how it's going to work. I tell you what to expect. And it's always the fear of the unknown with anything new. I can be treating a patient, for 2 years and they finally decide that they want to do filler. And even though they trust me and they know me, they're still scared, and it's because it's the fear of the unknown. We hear all these things, oh, it's so painful, or droopy eyebrow, or feeling heavy, or whatever you hear, and so we get scared to do something. But the fear of the unknown is not, it's not a thing to be scared of. Like, don't let it hinder you or stop you from getting a treatment done. Just because once you do it, then you don't ever have to be scared of it again, and then you're gonna love it. So there's a reason why so many women do toxins, and that's because it makes us feel glowy. It makes us feel, if your injector does it right, you should feel lifted, like your eyebrows should feel lifted, your eyes should be more awake. It just changes your forehead skin. It's so beautiful. Half the time I don't even put makeup on my forehead because when my toxin is done, it's just glowing and smooth. It improves the skin texture where we inject it. It's just a glorious thing. So sorry, that was another rant, but okay. I hope you enjoyed this. I love y'all so much. I'm so thankful to all of my patients who do trust me. And if you have not come seen me yet at Astera, please come see me. I am never ever going to force you or talk you into or oversell you to do something. That's just not who I am. So even if you're nervous and you don't think you want to do it yet, but you just want to have like a consult and a conversation, and if we can kind of talk this out in person, I would love to have you come in and book a consultation and we can do that. So, all right. I love y'all. Happy 2025. Happy New Year. I'm recording this on January 1 of 2025. And who knows when I'm actually going to get this edited and get the nerve to put this out, but I'm hoping I just put it out later today. I don't know. I know I'm going to get scared and I'm going to wait like a week, but be really proud of me if I get it out today. Okay. All right. Bye, guys.